Hi everybody, this is Bill Sanders and this is WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what we're going to be doing is to be taking a look at Logan's collection on the road to higher horology. Now, it's a budget collection, but I was thinking about some of the watches that Logan has, and I think sometimes we become accustomed to thinking about our watches in one way and thinking about our budget in another. I was, like somebody spends $500 on a watch, and that's considered to be not the most Horology, if you will. On the other hand, you spend $500 on just about anything else, and you check your checkbook twice, and it's a really funny mindset that we've entered into. And so, in looking at this, I was thinking, my God, there's some serious money that went into the entire collection. And there are two ways to look at it. One way to look at it is, well, this is something you could have taken all of these watches and bought one, let's say a pre-owned Jaeger-LeCoultre for a couple $1,000 maybe, and so then you'd be at another level. On the other hand, this is really a collection that seems to be growing, and it's an interesting one in that respect. And so looking at a watch like this is my most expensive watch. It probably costs more than my car, and it's a FP Journe, and a lot of these things, I mean, they're crazy prices, and you have to make certain kinds of economic decisions. Some you may regret later. I spent what? Anyhow, so much for our hobby. So even a budget collection like Logan's here, when you really put it together, you're spending some serious money. So anyway, so let's take a look at Logan's collection. And the first one is at the top up there is a Timex, and it's a chronograph, and it's a nice chronograph. I like the face on it. It's got a nice big clear face. You can see it. Nice big white markers and numbers and dials on a black dial. I like that a lot. It's a good looking watch. It's a Timex, so you're not expecting a great movement in it. So anyway, by the way, too, Logan didn't send me any reference numbers, so a couple of them I had to look up, but for the most part, I simply looking at the watch get a pretty good idea. Now the two at the bottom are Orient, and the Orient is they're owned by Seiko. Orient is, and both of these I think are well selected. They're either both of them are gold tone. I don't know whether they're brass or copper or even. I don't think they're gold plating, but they're well chosen watches. Now the interesting thing about Orient, you have Orient and then you have Orient Star. Orient Star is sort of the upscale version of Orient, and they make they're pretty nice looking watches. In fact, a lot of Orient watches have a reputation for having some nice looking watches and with some interesting complications. Okay. So they're both look, I would say they'd probably either go to work watches or dress watches. And another thing about this collection, they're all automatics. I'll get to that later, but for now, it's we can take a look at a Timex and a couple Orients. All right, Now, as I mentioned, Orient is owned by Seiko, and Seiko is a step, definitely a step up, and it's one that Logan has in his collection. There's a day-date diver's watch at the top. I like it with the red band and the sort of that red on the bezel. It's good-looking diver's watch. It's got a day date in it. And again, it's an automatic down to 200 meters for a diver's watch. It looks like a real diver's watch. Whenever you put either a rubber or I don't know, that's a NATO band on it. It looks like a real diver's watch. If it's got I don't know why, with a metal bracelet or a leather or a gator band on it, it doesn't look like like a true driver's watch. This one does. And at the bottom down there, excuse me, is a very nice Seiko dress watch. Either you could use it as a dress watch or an everyday go to work watch. It's just sort of a nice choice in a watch. Okay, now finally, there's an Omega Speedmaster automatic and a Tissot 1853 LeCoultre. The Speedmaster, you gotta have a reference number on those to tell one from the, at least especially me. I'm sure that a big Omega fan who's also a Speedmaster fan could tell it. They just had like been 48 years since Buzz Aldrin wore Speedmaster, landed on the moon. I was recently came up, and that thing is clean as a whistle. My God, it's nice and shiny. It looks brand new. And then the Tissot 1853, the guilloche on that on the dial is really very nice. Now, I don't know to what extent this is still sort of the manner of things that they have, but when Omega and Tissot and Lemania were sort of these three, two watches and a movement company were all part of one another. The Omega was supposed to be the upscale, and then the Tissot was more of the economical model. And I think it's still true. The other thing is that the Lemania movement, it was work at the time was making the movements for both Omega and Tissot. They made them for some other watches too, I believe, but they made the one for the moon landing. It was actually Lemania. Okay, so these are the watches in the collection, and they're not high horology. The Speedmaster may be a strong horology. I don't know if they have an in-house movement. Yes, if they have an ETA, no. They're standard, but that's okay. If you look at the trajectory of this collection, if I put them in the right order, you start with some Orients, and you have Orient, Star, and a Timex, and then you move up to a Seiko, and then you go on up to an Omega. Now Tissot, I don't think they have any in-house movements, if I'm not mistaken. I think most of those are ETA or probably Solita now. Who knows what they've become lately? I don't think Tissot has any in-house, but I know Omega has. Omega's a very complex mix between this, that, and the other thing. Lemania became, I think it's Breguet's movement, and it was sort of disappeared into became manufacturer Breguet. So that's where Lemania is, and so it didn't really become the movement for Omega, at least as far as I know. Omega they put together a number of years ago, they put together an automatic movement that a lot of different ones use now. Okay, so like I said, this entire collection is automatics. Now, there's nothing wrong with automatics. Uh, but you might get some hand wound. Let me tell you what I like about hand wound. In my own collection, I think I have 4 automatics, and everything else is manual wind. The thing I like about manual wind is that every day you get to look at it in a different way. My manual winds, I don't know what's going on. So every now and then I'll pull one out and wear it, and the time is goofy or something like that. And I thought, well, when did that happen, or how did it happen? On the other hand, with my manual winds that I wind every morning, or at least the ones in rotation, I have a pretty good idea if something is looking off. I'll take it down. Like not long ago, my El Raw wasn't wasn't even winding, and so I took it down and they fixed it up. I just need a little, very, sort of minimal service. Okay, so I would recommend taking a look at some manual wind watches. I think they're good to have. There was an article not long ago about the advantages of a manual wind, and there's certainly one I would add to your collection. Okay, so where do you go from here? You got a good mix. I mean, so many of these are all sports watches. This collection has a very, very good mix of watches. Um, and so, what would the next step be? Uh, what you I would suggest, of course, I always suggest, is that you try to get into a little higher horology. One direction I would certainly recommend is something that is pre-owned, even vintage. You can find some, if you can find a good one in vintage. Don't get a vintage one with a goofy looking dial. I've seen a lot of those. They got a pristine movement, but the dial is something you could hardly even tell what time it is. Uh, and I like these. I like the selection. Very nice selection of watches. And take a look at sort of something. Jaeger-LeCoultre, Blanc Pain has some good buys on the used market. Trying to think what else. Just try to take a look at some of those and go to Chrono 24, someplace like that, and see what they got. You can put things. You can hit. There's a little selection on Chrono 24. You can have it from price from the lowest to the highest, and see something that begins to fit into your what you can afford. Now, so like I said, some of these, none of these, in some respects, are cheap watches, and they're inexpensive watches, and perhaps they don't have a movement that has the kind of care that you'd expect in a high horology watch. The Omega might, but I got a feeling it's probably more likely to be a fairly standard. In fact, all of these appear to be fairly standard movements in them. But trying to sort of like the camel sticking its nose under the tent, you can find one that you can have and that you would wear a lot, that you like to wear. I say, hey, this is a cool one. I know that the Seamaster or Speedmaster must be one of your favorites, but I got to tell you, in terms of just a pure liking to look at it, I like that Tissot because the Guilloche, I have the larger, higher resolution image of that watch that was sent, that Logan sent to me. Looks as a good looking watch. Okay, hey, we're almost out of collections to review. All right. So if you're interested in having your collection reviewed, send them to me. Send them to this my Willie Be Good at att.net, and send me along with it just a little text file with something about each watch. The reference number is always helpful, and you'll get your review done pretty quickly. So otherwise, on Sunday, what we're going to have, I'll just have like a yakety yak without a collection review. It won't be as formal as the our Friday discussions of getting into different aspects of high horology. Okay, this has Bill Sanders for WatchArtSci. Oh, by the way, too, don't forget to enter the Grand Prix picks. You can win a free watch. Two ways to win a free watch. One, send your collection in. As soon as your collection is sent in, you're on the list to win a free watch. Logan is. And also, if you enter into the our latest contest, take a look at the WatchArtSci announcement of it just like a couple videos ago. Okay, Bill Sanders for WatchArtSci. Let's hear your comments. Love to hear your comments. Always want to hear your comments. Until next time, Bill Sanders for WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection.